Let's kick this off with tinted visors, because nothing says, "I'm about to ruin your day," quite like a defender whose eyes you can't even see. Back in the 90s, these things were everywhere. Players looked like they stepped out of a sci-fi movie, turning defensive backs into emotionless Terminators stalking the secondary. Quarterbacks couldn't read their eyes, receivers couldn't anticipate coverage, and honestly, it was intimidating as hell. But in 1998, the NFL said, "Not anymore," and banned all tinted and colored visors. Their official reason? Trainers need to check players' eyes during concussion evaluations. Which sure, sounds reasonable until you realize college football still allows them without the entire sport collapsing. The real kicker, you can get a medical exemption if you've got light sensitivity issues. So LaDainian Tomlinson and Chris Canty got to keep their tinted swag, while everyone else had to face the world with their eyeballs fully exposed. To this day, if you see a colored visor in an NFL game, it's either during warm-ups or someone's about to get a very expensive fine. But if you think banning visors was petty, wait until you hear what they did to face masks. In the early 2000s, linemen started showing up looking like they raided a medieval armory. Justin Tuck and Chris Canty pioneered face masks with so many bars you could barely see their faces. We're talking full-on gladiator cages that made standard gear look like a suggestion. Players loved them because extra bars meant extra protection from hands jabbing at your face in the trenches. And let's be honest, they looked absolutely terrifying. The NFL, being the NFL, immediately had a problem with this. In 2014, they banned all non-standard face masks, claiming they were unsafe because they were too heavy and could strain neck muscles. Equipment managers complained they broke too easily. And just like that, the intimidation factor was gone. Only players with documented medical conditions got exemptions, which is why Canty, who actually had an eye issue, squeezed out a bit more time in his battle station helmet. But for everyone else, back to boring, approved designs. The giant cage era died faster than most running back careers. Speaking of things that died quickly, let's talk about what happened to personal style. The 90s were a different time. Deion Sanders could rock a bandana under his helmet, and everyone just accepted that prime time operated on a different level of cool. Players wore head ties for sweat control, for identity, for culture. It was part of the game's personality, the swagger that made NFL Sundays feel alive. Then 2001 rolled around and the league said uniformity over individuality and banned all bandanas and non-team headgear. The official excuse was they wanted everyone to look consistent, because apparently nothing says competitive sport quite like mandatory conformity. From that point forward, you could only wear league-issued skull caps in team colors with an NFL logo. Anything else? That's a fine, baby. This wasn't about safety. This was about image control. The NFL wanted to scrub out any trace of personality that didn't fit their corporate vision. And unlike some rules that eventually get relaxed, this one stuck. You won't see a player rocking a bandana under their helmet anymore, even though it literally hurt nobody and looked objectively cooler. But the accessory police were just getting warmed up. For decades, eye black was simple, a strip of black grease under the eyes to cut down glare. Then players got creative. Tim Tebow wrote John 3:16 during his Florida days. Other guys wrote tributes to fallen family members, motivational quotes, or personal messages that actually meant something. It added character to the game and gave fans a glimpse into what mattered to these athletes beyond football. The NFL, never one to let something wholesome exist without interference, banned all written messages on eye black in 2010. Their reasoning? Maintaining uniformity and avoiding unauthorized messages on national broadcasts. Translation: they didn't want anything political, religious, or potentially controversial showing up in primetime that they didn't pre-approve. Can't have players expressing themselves when there are corporate sponsors to appease. Now eye black is just a blank smudge. No slogans, no scripture, no personality. Just conformity in grease paint form. Another casualty in the NFL's war against anything that makes players seem like actual human beings. And if you think they stopped there, buckle up. Sneaker culture exploded across every major sport, but the NFL acted like custom cleats were a national security threat. The rule is crystal clear. Cleats must match your team's primary colors and stay within uniform guidelines. Anything outside that? Automatic fine. Odell Beckham Jr., DeAndre Hopkins, and Marshawn Lynch all made headlines for breaking this rule, wearing everything from cartoon art to flashy gold designs that actually had personality. The league eventually caved slightly in 2016, with My Cause My Cleats Week, giving players one game per season to wear custom designs for charity. One game out of 17. That's the NFL's idea of compromise, letting you express yourself 5.8% of the time. For players, cleats are more than gear, they're expression. But in the NFL's world, expression threatens uniformity, and uniformity protects sponsorship deals worth hundreds of millions. So unless it's that one magical week, your footwear better be boring and league-approved. But wait, there's more accessories to police. Here's one that surprises people. The NFL has sock rules. Detailed, strictly enforced sock rules. Your socks must fully cover your leg from shoe to pant, with no bare skin showing. And they must match your team's issued colors. No wild designs, no personal flair, no halfway pulled-up looks that might suggest you have an ounce of individual style. Marshawn Lynch got fined multiple times for wearing mismatched or non-team socks. Other players tried rolling them down for a unique look and immediately got warnings or penalties. The NFL's justification? Consistency and image control. Can't have unapproved logos or messages sneaking into broadcasts via ankle real estate. For players, it feels nitpicky as hell. For the league, it's about maintaining iron-fisted discipline over every visible inch of their product. And while it doesn't get as much attention as other bans, the sock rule is quietly one of the most strictly enforced accessory violations in the entire NFL. Now let's talk about something that actually makes sense. The NFL has always banned hard jewelry on the field. And honestly, this one's reasonable. Chains can get yanked, rings can cut skin, and earrings can cause serious injuries on contact. It's basic safety that makes sense even if players hate losing their bling for 3 hours. But that didn't stop Odell Beckham Jr. from testing it by wearing a luxury watch during a game in 2017. A watch during a collision sport. The piece was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars and could have shattered on any hard hit. The most infamous jewelry incident, though, when Aqib Talib literally ripped Michael Crabtree's gold chain straight off his neck during a heated rivalry game, sparking one of the most memorable fights of the decade and perfectly illustrating why the NFL doesn't allow it. Today, players still wear jewelry during warm-ups, but once kickoff comes, it's gone. The fines might seem small for millionaire athletes, but the league enforces this relentlessly because unlike sock colors, this rule actually protects people from getting hurt. But some equipment bans went way further than safety. In the 80s and 90s, neck rolls and cowboy collars were everywhere. Linebackers like Brian Bosworth made these thick foam rolls or hard plastic collars iconic. They prevented whiplash, protected necks from violent collisions, and honestly made defenders look like armored warriors ready for battle. They weren't just functional, they were a symbol of toughness that defined an era. But as equipment technology improved, these old-school accessories slowly disappeared. Newer shoulder pads started including built-in neck support, making the bulky add-ons unnecessary. By the mid-2000s, they were rare. By the 2010s, virtually extinct. The NFL never issued an outright ban, but evolving equipment guidelines and safety standards phased them out naturally. Today, you almost never see them at any level of football. For older fans, neck rolls are pure 90s nostalgia. For younger ones, they're just relics of a bygone era that probably isn't coming back. And speaking of things that aren't coming back, playing through injuries has always been part of football's tough guy culture. But in the 90s and early 2000s, the way players protected injuries looked extreme. The most common example was The club, a cast wrapped in heavy padding that turned a broken hand into what legitimately looked like a blunt weapon. Defenders played with these massive padded clubs, using them to swat, jam, and hit even though they couldn't grip anything. The NFL eventually cracked down, requiring all casts and braces to be fully padded and sized appropriately, so they wouldn't give unfair advantages or become dangerous to opponents. Oversized clubs got increasingly flagged and fined, especially when they looked more like medieval maces than medical equipment. Today, players can still take the field with protective gear after injuries, but padding requirements are much stricter. Anything that looks oversized or weapon-like gets immediately disallowed. The era of giant padded clubs charging off the edge is gone, replaced by streamlined braces that actually look like they're meant for protection, not intimidation.